Hey there, you beautiful degenerates! Welcome to the channel where we explore the dark, twisted, and often hilarious side of love gone wrong. And by love gone wrong, I mean your significant other is a cheating scumbag wrong. We've all been there, right? Okay, maybe not all of us, but if you've ever been burned by love, betrayed by someone you trusted, or just really wanted to see someone get what's coming to them, then buckle up, Buttercup. This one's for you. We're diving deep into the world of bitter justice, where revenge is a dish best served cold. With a side of, oh, you thought you could get away with that? So grab your popcorn, your favorite beverage, I'm partial to aviation gin myself, and get ready for some seriously satisfying payback. Meet Mark. Good guy, right? Loyal, dedicated, hopelessly in love with his wife Claire. 12 years of marriage, not a single red flag. At least that's what Mark thought. But you know the saying, love is blind, but revenge has 20/20 vision. And Mark was about to get a crash course in just how clear that vision could be. It all started with a seemingly innocent buzz. Claire's phone lighting up on the kitchen counter. A message flashed across the screen. Can't wait to see you tonight, love you. Now Mark wasn't a jealous guy, but something about that message just felt off. Call it a gut feeling, call it morbid curiosity, call it whatever you want. The point is, Mark did something we've all been tempted to do at some point. He scrolled, and scrolled, and scrolled. Through months of messages, each one a tiny dagger twisting into his heart. There was no denying it. Claire was having an affair. The world as Mark knew it crumbled. But from the ashes of his shattered heart, a new emotion arose. Rage. Cold, calculating, and thirsty for payback. Mark knew exactly what he had to do. He would become the ultimate puppet master, playing the part of the doting husband while secretly plotting his revenge. He cooked Claire's favorite meals, showered her with affection, even suggested a romantic weekend getaway, all while meticulously draining their bank accounts, moving money into a secret account, and gathering enough evidence to bury Claire in a mountain of her own infidelity. Mark wasn't just winging this revenge thing. Oh no, he was going full-on Ocean's 11. Except instead of robbing a casino, he was robbing Claire of her dignity, her assets, and her freedom. He staged incriminating photos, making it look like he was having an affair of his own. He hired a private investigator to follow Claire and her lover, documenting their every move. The weekend getaway arrived. Mark had rented a secluded cabin in the woods, the kind of place that screams romantic getaway but whispers no witnesses. Over candlelit dinners and scenic walks, he reminisced about their relationship, playing the part of the loving husband so convincingly that even Meryl Streep would have been impressed. Claire, none the wiser, actually started to relax. She thought she was safe. Little did she know she was walking straight into the spider's web. On the final night, Mark pulled out a gift, an envelope simply marked, "For you." A flicker of confusion crossed Claire's face, quickly replaced by dread as she opened it. Inside were the photos of her affair, bank statements showing their empty accounts, and the staged photos of Mark with his mistress. Mark leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. I guess we both have secrets, huh? Now Mark wasn't the only one with a knack for turning the tables. Let's talk about Leonardo, a painter with a talent for capturing the human form and exposing the ugliness beneath. When Leonardo discovered his wife's infidelity, he didn't scream, he didn't cry, he didn't even confront her. He did what any sane, rational person would do. He painted a portrait of her, in bed, with her lover. And not just any portrait, mind you. This was a masterpiece, capturing every detail, every stolen glance, every illicit touch. The grand opening of Leonardo's new gallery was the talk of the town. Socialites, art critics, and even a few celebrities graced the room, sipping champagne and pretending to understand abstract art. But the centerpiece, the pièce de résistance, was Leonardo's portrait of his wife. The moment the curtain dropped, a hush fell over the crowd, and then, the gasps, the whispers, the pointing. Leonardo's wife, her face turning the same shade as the red wine being spilled on the expensive carpet, realized the full extent of her husband's revenge. Her humiliation, immortalized on canvas for all to see. Chapter 4. The Taste of Regret. Next up, we have Gordon, a chef with a palate for the exquisite and a temper as fiery as his chili peppers. Gordon had known about his wife's affair for months. The telltale signs, the whispered phone calls, the lingering scent of a cologne that was definitely not his, it was all there. But Gordon was a patient man. He was waiting for the perfect moment to serve up his revenge, And what better occasion than a dinner party? He invited his wife and her lover, along with a group of unsuspecting friends, to a lavish feast. The table was set, the wine was flowing, and the guests were none the wiser as they savored each course. What they didn't know was that Gordon had infused certain dishes with a special ingredient, regret. Or, more accurately, a blend of bitter herbs that tasted perfectly fine at first but left a lingering, unpleasant aftertaste. As his wife and her lover choked and gagged, their faces contorted in a symphony of discomfort, Gordon calmly revealed the true nature of the dinner party. The look of horror on their faces, that was the sweetest dessert he could have asked for. Chapter 5. The Last Laugh. Let's be real. Sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and living a life so fabulous that your ex can't help but drown in a sea of their own regret. Take Michael, for example. His wife, blinded by dollar signs and the promise of a life of luxury, left him for a wealthy businessman. Fast forward a few months, and who shows up at Michael's doorstep looking more disheveled than a discount bin full of Halloween costumes? You guessed it, the ex-wife. Seems like Mr. Moneybags wasn't all he was cracked up to be, and now she was singing the baby comeback blues. Michael, being the bigger person, and also having a new love interest who could make Beyoncé look like a backup dancer, decided to have a little fun with the situation. He sat down with his ex, listened to her sob story, and then, with a flourish, pulled out a check. "Here you go," he said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "This should cover everything you need to get back on your feet." The ex-wife's eyes lit up as she reached for the check, only to have Michael rip it in half right before her eyes. The look on her face? Priceless. Michael had the last laugh and he didn't even have to spend a dime. Chapter 6. A Deal with the Devil. Sometimes revenge requires a little more creativity. When Tom discovered his wife's infidelity, he was devastated, but more than anything, he was worried about his children. He knew he had to fight fire with fire, and so he made a deal with the devil, or, more accurately, the internet. Posing as a charming stranger online, Tom seduced his wife into sending him explicit messages and photos. He knew her weaknesses, her desires, her secret fantasies, and he used that knowledge to weave a web of digital deception. With each suggestive message, each compromising photo, Tom was building his case. When the time was right, he dropped the bomb. He revealed his true identity and presented the evidence to the court, exposing his wife's infidelity and her reckless disregard for their children's well-being. The judge, as you can imagine, was not impressed. Tom was granted full custody of his children and a generous settlement, proving that sometimes even the devil can be on the side of justice. David, unlike some of our other scorned lovers, preferred to let his actions speak louder than words. When he discovered his wife's affair, he didn't confront her, he didn't lash out, he simply bided his time. Their anniversary was coming up, and David had a very special gift in mind. He spent weeks compiling photos, but not the kind you'd find in your average family album. Oh no, these were snapshots of his wife's infidelity, captured by private investigators and hidden cameras. He carefully arranged the photos in a beautiful leather-bound album, titling it Our Moments. On the night of their anniversary, with a somber expression, David presented the album to his wife. Her face drained of all color as she flipped through the pages, each photo a searing indictment of her betrayal. She tried to speak, to explain, but words failed her. David, his point made, simply took the album back, along with the keys to the house, and walked away, leaving his wife to wallow in the wreckage of her own making. Now let's talk about Eric, a chess grandmaster with a mind as sharp as a tack and a strategy for everything. When he discovered his wife was cheating on him, he knew he had to make his move carefully. And what better stage for a master strategist than a high-stakes chess tournament? With the eyes of the world upon him, Eric calmly and methodically dismantled his opponent, each move bringing him closer to victory. But the real game was happening off the board. As the tension in the room reached fever pitch, Eric made his final move. He leaned forward, a triumphant glint in his eye, and delivered a sealed envelope to his opponent. "Checkmate," he whispered, a sly smile playing on his lips. The envelope contained Eric's wife's love letters, confessions, and other incriminating evidence, all addressed to his opponent. The scandal that erupted was more explosive than a pawn shop on Pawn Star. Eric's wife's reputation was in tatters, and Eric, having played the long game to perfection, walked away victorious, both on and off the chessboard. Liam, much like a fine wine, believed that revenge was best savored after years of careful aging. When he discovered his wife's infidelity, he didn't react rashly. Instead, he embarked on a meticulous campaign of information gathering, documenting every instance of her betrayal, every penny she spent, every lie she told. Years passed, and Liam patiently built his case, amassing a mountain of evidence that would make even the most hardened lawyer sweat. Finally, the day of the divorce hearing arrived. Liam, armed with his arsenal of proof, laid out his case with the precision of a surgeon. His wife, accustomed to a life of luxury and entitlement, had no idea what hit her. As Liam systematically dismantled her arguments, exposing her lies and deceit, a look of dawning realization spread across her face. By the time the judge delivered his verdict, stripping her of her ill-gotten gains and leaving her with nothing but a mountain of debt and a shattered reputation, she was a broken woman. Liam, his revenge a decade in the making, simply smiled. He had played the long game, and he had won. Jack, a firefighter by profession, knew a thing or two about putting out fires, but when he discovered his wife was cheating on him, he realized that some fires are best left to burn. Now Jack wasn't a violent guy, but he had a certain way with, let's say, controlled demolitions. So, during a routine fire safety demonstration at the local community center, Jack decided to give a little extra show. As the crowd watched in awe, Jack and his team simulated a car fire, using a beat-up old clunker as their prop. But what the crowd didn't know was that the car in question belonged to none other than Jack's wife's lover. The flames roared, the smoke billowed, and by the time the demonstration was over, the car was nothing but a smoldering heap of metal. Jack, his face impassive, turned to the crowd and said, "Remember folks, always be careful with fire. It can be a real heartbreaker." The message was clear, and the next time Jack's wife's lover went to hop in his car, he was greeted by the sweet smell of karma and burnt rubber. So there you have it, folks. 10 tales of betrayal, revenge, and the fine art of giving someone exactly what they deserve. Remember, these are just stories, and I don't condone violence or illegal activities, unless it involves unicorns. Unicorns can be dicks. But seriously, if you're going through a rough breakup, channel your inner badass, but maybe skip the arson and public humiliation. There are healthier ways to heal and move on, like therapy, or adopting a puppy, or watching this channel on repeat. Until next time, stay frosty, stay vengeful, and always remember karma's a bitch and sometimes it wears a cape and carries a fire extinguisher.